Looking, he's going to heave one deep down the field. It's going to be to the goal line. It's going to be gone. It's a touchdown, and the Gators have
won. Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of High Top Sports. As you guys can see, we're down a player right now. We got old David Soderquist in the house from Getting Swamped. We have a jam-packed show, ladies and gentlemen. So sit tight, buckle up. It's going to be a bigger look. I'm here right now in the middle of the Atlanta Braves playoff game. If this isn't love, I don't know what is. I can hear it kind of outside of my ear right now. Hoping my wife yells because we're scoring. I'm stressed. Dave, what's going on, big dog? Welcome to the stream. You're muted.
What's up, man?
There you go.
Pump, man.
There you go.
Good?
Yes, sir. Good to go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, I'm pumped, man. LSU Florida weekend. I'll be down there, Gator Collective event. I'll be at the game as well. Man, it's just a big visitor list, big crowd, sold out, and I'm pumped. I'm ready.
Hell yeah. And I will be there Friday as well. We will be actually High Top Sports will be live streaming with the collective from the High Top, right? What's it?
It's from Midtown, Gainesville and Midtown at the, I can't remember the name of the place. I'm not too familiar with it, but I can look it up real quick. It's,
yeah, I'm drawing a blank. So we'll be there. There'll be a bunch of stars there as well, of past Gators, current Gators. I know Castleton will be there. Major Wright will be there. Trayon D. Webb will be there. So it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, it's at the social Midtown.
As Social Midtown. So if you're in Gainesville, come stop by, get tickets. I know David's tweeted it. I've tweeted it. Check it out. Come hang out with us there with the collective and the boys. Obviously, we'll be there shooting live. So as you can see, Holly is down and out right now. He has no internet apparently. I think he's just afraid to show face. But he's down and out currently. But we have a jam-packed show for you guys today. We have Florida recruiting, which is getting turned up again. The piss missiles are starting to fire up and get rocking and rolling. And then obviously we're going to break down Florida versus LSU, the importance of this game, not only for a recruiting aspect, but for our season, for Billy, for just Gator Nation to not lose their absolute minds over the next 72 hours. And then SC Championship. We'll talk about that, little foreshadowing. Some upsets in the making. We got a little game involved from you guys. We asked the questions earlier this week for you guys to answer. Little surveys on the High Top Sports page, and so we're gonna go into that, and then we'll dive into pick'ems possibly. Steve's not here to give us the score updates. We might have to rearrange the pick'ems. Before that, we would like to thank our sponsors, MyBookie. Your favorite athletes always try to put themselves in a winning position, and it's about time you did too with MyBookie. MyBookie has the biggest online selections of odds and contests to fill all of your sports betting needs anytime, anywhere. Bet on the NFL, MLB playoffs, or play for a share of big cashes in the weekly blackjack tournaments. If you've been waiting for the right time to get in the action, the time is now. Make your winning move today. Sign up at MyBookie, use the promo code HIGHTOP, and claim your deposit match of any amount up to $1,000. Again, that's promo code HIGHTOP to claim your bonus. Experience sports in a whole new light and make this season a winning one. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. So check that out, boys and girls. Use the code down below. Double your deposit and rock and roll. All right. Dave, you ready to rock, big dog? It's going to be
Let's do it.
It's going to be a doozy. All right. So first things first, Florida recruiting obviously is getting spiced back up again. There's been a lot of noise for tomorrow. We've got possibly some recruits that are going to be landing. So I've got my little inside scoop. I know Dave has his inside scoop. My inside scoop told me a 5-star was looking to come crawling through. Now the two names that we obviously that's been flying around, and you spoke with just a minute ago, Corey, and you're gonna you'll speak on that, and obviously he kind of had his thoughts and reasons, but. It looks like Deshaun Johnson is back on the grind. Is that right, David?
Yeah, I just got done interviewing Corey Bender for my podcast, Getting Swamped, and talked to him about that first. Actually, that was the first subject, was the commitments for tomorrow. Thornton and Deshaun Johnson supposed to commit, hopefully, to Florida. I talked to Corey Bender. He said he's picking Florida. I'm picking Florida to just based on following the visits. Deshaun Johnson, he's visited Florida a lot of times. Thornton seems to be, a guy that's very interested in Florida as well. If it came down to it and you were to ask me, hey, are these guys, coming to the University of Florida? I would pick yes. Are you talking about the 5-star Cormani McClain, right?
So I don't have a name. I just got stars. But I mean, look, when I heard the 5 stars, that's who I was thinking of. I know Keon Keeley, obviously, is still an option. He's a 5-star. I've heard he's been more leaning towards Oklahoma State. Ohio State. My apologies. So I don't see that being a one. But when he told me that, I was wondering who it was, and I was like, maybe Cormani's going to finally commit. But again, the noise for tomorrow is Thornton and DeJohn. So maybe he might. Maybe my insight could be off a few days, but we'll see.
Yeah. As I said, I have 2 articles pre-written for tomorrow. So if that gives you an inclination that you want to know, so there you go.
I love it. Hopefully we have some exciting news. I've been dying to put on the spacesuit, so if that happens, I'll have to go live tomorrow. Once that happens, if it does happen, it'll be a little bit late. I have some prior engagements before that, but look, that would be huge to get the weekend rolling, to get those 2 guys to come in on top of the list that's coming in. But DeJohn Johnson, we've been nothing but praise about him since he was supposed to commit a little bit ago, and then Rivals obviously released the great news. I've been subscribed to Rivals all day today, hoping for maybe like an early inside information. Maybe they might drop the ball again, but and obviously Bryce Thornton, I believe he's a 3-star, correct? Safety is looking
he's a 4-star on 3. I think a 3-star everywhere else. But if you go by his composite, he's around like 400 or so on his composite. So I mean, anyway, it's defense, and we've lacked in defense if you haven't seen so far this year. So anytime we can add somebody defensively, I'll take it.
For sure. No, I think, look, again, the fact is those 2 guys will be sliding through right before the monsters that are going to be lined up for this weekend. And look, I don't believe those 2 are on the list to come visit this weekend, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're added to the list if they do commit to Florida, tomorrow. That could be something that's added on to the recruiting factor, because there's a lot of commits that are going this Saturday too that we've talked about, which, look, I think that's positive. That's reinforcement that, because it is flipping season, we could see some flips happening. Jakeem Jackson is visiting Kentucky. Don't know if that's good or bad, but it's never good when you've got a commit that's going to go visit somewhere else. These guys obviously have their official visits they get to go utilize, and why not go visit a cool school if they're going to cover it for you. So you have to understand that and expect that, but it's great to see guys that have been there are coming back for some more love. Marcus Stokes obviously will be there for his official visit this weekend. But yeah, I'm excited for those 2 to commit tomorrow. Maybe we get a surprise. As of who is coming, you've got the list. It's a long one. Can we break that down a little bit? Leave off that there's a lot of not a lot, but there's a handful of 2025s. We'll ignore that. We're getting way ahead of ourselves. More so of the current 2023 guys who's going to be on there. Before you do that though, we got a super chat from my boy Dominic. Says been all a little, but getting stuff back on track to donate. Big noise, Discord kicking it. The fam is awesome. Love you all. But also, I am number what? 1. He is number 1 in our fantasy football league. Thanks, Dominic, for the love and support, but I appreciate it. All right, David. So back to you, man. Who's going to be the lineup this weekend?
How long you got on this live stream?
Make it quick. Braves game's on.
Well, it's a lot of people, I can tell you that, and a lot of Florida's recruiting classes on this list. I even asked Corey Bender. I said, "Is the whole recruiting class just coming to this game too?" But Billy Napier, he really stated that he wanted all these guys to come to the Florida LSU game. I mean, there was kids trying to visit for Kentucky. He said, "No, LSU, Florida." Corey kind of went into that a little bit with me, but yeah, if you look down at this list, man, I mean, the official visitors. If you want to go 5 stars here, you got defensive lineman James Smith. 5-star edge rusher Qua Russell. Really bad at actually pronouncing names, so if I get the pronunciation wrong, just bear with me. Obviously, you said Marcus Stokes is there, and this list is from Blake Alderman too, by the way. So it does get updated. I did ask Corey if there might be more visitors in the days to come, and he said he doesn't know. There could be John Walker could visit maybe UCF commit there. So you go down this list. Bryce Thornton, he could be committed to Florida by this time. Cormani McClain is listed as a maybe. They don't know if he's coming or not. Trayon Webb, all the Gator commits. I'm not really going to go down that list because a lot of the Gator commits that are on this list are coming. South Carolina commit Xavier McLeod, he's coming too. Jordan Hall is possible for right now. Jaron Hamilton, 4-star guy. 3-star wide receiver Tyree Patterson. He's a Gator commit as well. He will be there. Wide receiver Brian Green. It's a preferred walk-on. That got a guy. And then I got this one too. I thought this was pretty interesting. Georgia Tech transfer Demetrius Knight. Now he's hasn't really played that much at Georgia Tech. Wasn't really a highly ranked guy, but he is in the portal, I believe. And I don't know if he's just taking visits or what the deal or what the scoop is on that. But he's a linebacker. We need linebackers. I don't know how good this kid is. I've never watched this film, but he's coming. He's visiting. And then after that, you really get to the 2024 kids, like the big target DJ Lagway for Florida, the main target there of this class. He's coming, 5-star quarterback. 2024 5-star wide receiver Jeremiah Smith. 2024 5-star wide receiver Joshua Trader. 5-star edge rusher Elijah Rushing. You go down the list of 2024 guys. I mean, it just doesn't end. I would say it's mainly, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 5-stars from the 2024 class. And I would say
That's huge.
3, 4. It's about 8 4-star kids from the 2024 class. Then you got a few 2025 guys that are 5-stars and all of that. So, I mean, when you go down the list too, and it could add, we could add more to this list, but it's the biggest visitor list that I've seen so far, obviously this year, but it's the biggest visitor list that I've seen probably in a while. I think the last time there was a big visitor list, it was Florida, Alabama of last year. So,
okay, the Utah game was pretty big this year as well too, but not as big as this.
As far as talent, no.
Okay, yeah, and that's the biggest thing. I think the 2023 year, this year, obviously, the Dream Team 23. I mean, he's playing catch up a little bit. Obviously, it's still his first year. There's a lot of that he has to establish. The 2024 season, to me, is that first full real cycle, and have 6 5-stars from that class. It's going to be massive, especially that DJ Lagway. I think he's going to pull some studs, and if things can get going in the right direction, I mean, I think he's already shown Billy, and who I'm talking about, a great sign of what's to come. And look, I think if we take a look at the entire scenery here of college football, right? Miami is in a dumpster fire right now. After all the hype and hoopla with Cristobal coming in, it doesn't seem to be translated onto the field like everybody's praising that it would. And it's awesome to see them be a complete dumpster fire. UCF, I think the hype is now gone. It's starting to slimmer away a little bit. They're not what people were expecting them to be. John Walker is one that we talked about that when he first committed, that's possibly a high likely to flip. It's even more likely now. And then you got LSU, right? They obviously have Brian Kelly. That was supposed to be another new face, excitement, hype. That seems to be a little on the fence just because of the energy. I mean, it's so up and down. I think even though we have the same amount of losses as they do, it seems more steady, more in control, more stable compared to LSU. And then the other part is Florida State. Now, obviously, you got your Bamas and Georgias. They're always going to do their job. Tennessee starting to take a stride, which is, that's going to be frustrating to see. But Florida State, I think they're surprising more people than what was expected, but they've also had some questionable calls late here at the end with certain situations. And I think, again, out of those schools that I just mentioned, Florida, right as of now, and this isn't me being Homer, it just looks more like a complete cycle situation of like, yeah, that's a healthy place to go to that looks like it's functioning very well. And I think people are starting to notice it's putting it on the map. For us to be able to make moves like this and get this many people at one game, this game is important, and we're going to get into that game here shortly, but I think things are headed in the right direction in a sense of recruiting, and Billy the man's been playing chess this entire time. That's what it feels like on the recruiting aspect of things. I mean, how things are moving and being negotiated and function. I don't think that this is going to be it's not going to be the first domino to fall, but it is going to be the first, not the last. I think we could see another one possibly fall later this weekend. That has nothing from anybody. That's just all me it's just feeling in my butt. Could be the bubble guts from the Braves game on out there, but it's just a feeling that I got that I don't know. I feel like Billy's always got something up his sleeve that we all don't know about. And this to me is that one of those weekends where it could turn into that, especially if Florida gets that W this weekend.
Yeah. What is the score of that game, by the way, right now, before we even get into that?
0-0 as last I checked, and hopefully it stays that way for now. So.
I was about to say it was in a rain delay for a while.
It started at 7:30.
As I said, it's a big weekend. Florida versus LSU. I mean, obviously you got the recruits there, you got everything, and obviously you want to see a victory. But a lot of those recruits, if you talk to them, and now I will say, if there's an impressive win and a recruit's there, they do like that. But
Yep.
if your team loses, or even if your team gets blown out, it doesn't really change the decision of a recruit if he's sitting there. Like I know a lot of recruits that have seen Florida lose in a bad game, and they still commit to Florida at
Sure.
the end of the cycle because they feel, okay, well, I can help in that area. They don't have really good wide receivers or linebackers or whatever position. And they'll be like, well, shoot, I'll get playing time because these guys weren't doing really well and I can come in and make it better. So, I mean, it can go tit for tat, but at the same time, you get a good, impressive win over a team that sends shockwaves to all the other recruits that are sitting there and watching it live. And then on top of that, you got the crowd in the background too. You hear
it's
all
sold
these
out, right?
recruits say, "Oh my God, that place is loud." Yeah, it's sold out. Yeah,
Yeah. And I think that's going to be a big factor. And I mean, you saw Death Valley. I mean, it looked weak against Tennessee this past weekend. So all these things are adding up. Where at least the energy is still there for Florida. People are showing out. It's been sold out most of the year. I want to say there's the top 2 selling schools this year was Florida and South Carolina. On just having people come to their stadium. From last I saw, that was a few weeks ago. Could have changed by now. But real quick, we got a super chat from Gator versus Anybody. Will Pritchard is another quarterback. We are pushing for a 3-star, so that's good. More depth there. And then Andrew Apple, our boy Linky, is home finally after being born in June. He's been obviously going through some struggles. So I love hearing that, big dog. I'm excited to hear that he's home and rocking and rolling. I've gotten a few photos of him smiling, wearing his high top onesie. So good stuff, man. We love hearing that. Real quick before we dive into Florida versus LSU, Dave, let me say hey to the chat. Let's see how everyone's doing today. TK Gator Nation, what's up, big dog? Scoop, how we doing, big dog? Dominic, obviously you've been heard of. Chris Sorley, what's up, baby? B Bean, welcome to the stream, baby. Gator versus Anybody. Bashay Glenn, how we doing? TJ Lift, as always, pleasure. Adrian, what's going on, man? Mr. Nobody, what's up, big dog? How are you? Holly's in here. He's rocking and rolling. Muddy Waters, what's up, big dog? Mama, Chris Paul. Who else? I missed you, my bad. Scoop. All right. So, everybody, welcome to the stream. Literist, what's up, big dog? How we doing? Let's go ahead and dive into it now. David, Florida versus LSU. Your thoughts, kind of early thoughts. You're active on the Twitter. I mean, your Twitter hands probably got to be top in the game, dude. You're always spitting it out. This guy has to have just like a shortcut to the Twitter handle. Like it's in his pocket, just ready to rock and roll because those things are burning all the time. You had your frustrations from last week's game that they were spitting out there. What's your thoughts for this matchup coming up this weekend?
Ooh, man. When you look at it, I mean, statistically, I talked to Zach Goodall. Actually, it was last night. I got to premiere that episode probably tonight as well. So there'll be 2 episodes coming up here on Getting Swamped. When you look at LSU, defensively, they're pretty good. I would say maybe not so much backfield-wise, but up front, defensive line, they're pretty good. I know that they said Osiris Torrance was questionable for this game. I talked to David Waters. He said when he, was talking to Billy Napier in the press conference, it didn't seem like it was that serious. So we probably still see Osiris Torrance out there. But we're going to need him. I mean, it's going to be strength on strength when it comes to the trenches, like offensive line and defensive line. I'll say this, though. LSU's offensive line is terrible. They're allowing a lot of sacks. I think it was like 21 sacks on the quarterback. And that pass rush is probably going to be heat. But at the same time, they do have a dual threat quarterback. Florida has not been good on perimeter tackling, especially with a dual threat quarterback. If you go and look, I haven't even looked up the stat of quarterback runs and them stopping the run on quarterback runs, but it's got to be pretty bad. I mean, the missed tackles from this team, and I'll say this, I looked at LSU's missed tackles. They have 6 more missed tackles than Florida does right now. So if that goes to tell you how anybody is performing against missed tackles, it's probably neck for neck and tit for tat on that. So I would expect Florida, hopefully, to bust some big runs, but I wouldn't put it behind me that LSU could do the same thing. I have to see more from this defense. Now, up front, I'll say last week against Missouri, they played really well. They had like 13 tackles for loss, had a good amount of sacks there too. And Amari Burney still leads the team in total sacks. So, a lot of people like to give Amari Burney flag. I mean, but he's been playing pretty good when it comes to pass rush. Obviously, coverage needs a little bit of work there. But I would say, man, I think Florida will get some pass rush. They'll get some pressure on that quarterback, but that quarterback's pretty fast and he can run outside of the pocket. And if, Anthony Richardson can do that too if he decides he wants to, which we'll get into, I guess, later. But I see it matchup for matchup. It's going to be offensive line for Florida versus LSU's defensive line. When it comes to the other side of the football, I think Florida's defensive line can win that battle. And usually when you win the line of scrimmage in a game, you can usually win the game. I'm hoping Florida can stop the run against LSU. They do have one really good running back that's already rushed for like 468. He's averaged almost 5 yards after contact and about 21 plus total first downs. I got to look at that running back's name again because it is on the tip of my tongue and I can't remember his name right now. It is Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels. He's averaging 8.1 yards per rush. So 23 first downs and 22 runs of 10 plus yards or more.
I've noticed we just allow, I mean, you don't have to even be a dual threat. If you have legs, their quarterbacks have been running on our defense, and it's just, that has to get figured out. Play calling obviously has been a little skeptic, in my opinion, on the defensive side of things. I would just like us to be on the same page. I would love the defense to play well and the offense to play well at the same time. That's all I'm asking. Yeah, I'm not asking for much. Just get things moving in the right direction. Anthony, we're due a solid game from Anthony. It seems that he has one. He has an up one and a down one and an up one. Well, he had his down one last week, so he got out of the way, got out of his system. It's going to be a night game in the Swamp again. This is something that at this point, you've got to be accustomed to. It's probably the most night games we've ever had in one single season for Florida. It's crazy in the Swamp. I love them. I think they're more exciting. So the Swamp under the lights is a hoot. But the offense has to be. I mean, he has to be dialed in. The play calling, I think, needs to excel a little bit faster. I feel like it's almost like they're trying to figure things out early on. It's what it seemed like the last few games. The play calling seems not vanilla, but just it's like they're trying stuff, and then it finds its rhythm the second half a little bit, and then we look more control and attained of everything. But in the defense, obviously, I mean, the third and 18s and the thousands were obviously allowing those to happen was an issue as well. So a lot of things we have to work on, but this is an important game. To me, I've been saying this, that yesterday or Eastern Washington was week 1, in my opinion. We got the W. Mizzou was week 2, obviously 2-0. Now it's LSU. This is week 3. This season can excel to another level. It can hop along the piss missiles, the spaceships, however you want to call it, on week 3. You win this game, you now believe that you can run the tables. Okay. The SEC championship still in the play. I know part of that, for that to happen, the Tennessee has to lose to Kentucky. So I've kind of given up on that dream. But just of what has to a lot of things have to go wrong for Florida to make it. But look, I'd rather us, lose it that way and give us an opportunity to get there than us not even have a chance. So we have to continue to win. But this game to me it's pivotal for Billy, for Anthony, for recruiting, for just for Gator Nation not to lose a blood vessel this weekend. The W has to happen. I mean, we've been frustrated. I think, thankfully, no matter what happens, if Florida gets the W, we're gonna be ecstatic because we beat Mizzou last week, but you still have your Florida fans that are like, we should have blown them up by 45. We beat Eastern Washington. We shouldn't have allowed them to score 17. So nobody's been happy out from Utah to up until this point as in a collective fan base, right? So a W here would bring the fan base back to unity as one, okay, and get the boys rolling again so I can put my spacesuit back on and have a good freaking time. I'm ready to lose my voice again. It's been basically kind of just teetering since Utah. It's time for it to go out. It's gone from me screaming in anger, not from excitement. So it's time to get this bad boy up and moving and go win a damn football game.
Yeah, when you look at it too, man, you had that big impressive win against Utah. You killed the whole momentum just by losing to Kentucky. They're a team that even with Will Levis isn't good. I don't care what anybody tells me.
That team sucks. I have been preaching that, and they just they support it by losing to South Carolina, even though they were without Will Levis. You got slaughtered by South Carolina. You got manhandled. And you don't get manhandled by just losing Will Levis. I mean, he's great. I think he's a great quarterback. I think he has his flaws, but from what's out there, I think he's very sound. But the team is not good. It wasn't good against us. I said it then. I said it afterwards, and I'm saying it now. They were not the better team that night. Florida just blew it. Now, you can say that that makes them
yeah.
better. Well, no, they just made a ton of mistakes. They were not the better team. They didn't go out there and beat Florida. Florida decided to beat themselves that night, and it was pathetic.
Yeah, I think if you play that game 10 times, Florida probably wins 8 times out of 10.
9.
If you were to ask me, if Anthony Richardson is on like that game. So, you get that bad taste from Kentucky. Tennessee, obviously, you lose that game, but looking at Tennessee now, you already tell that they're one of the best teams in the nation right now in a lot of categories, and they're playing really good offense right now. I mean, they killed LSU last week. So, keeping a close game to Tennessee, seeing Richardson pass for 453, you got a little bit more confidence. You're like, okay, maybe they start to turn this thing around. Maybe a light clicks. You go into that Eastern Washington game. You sit Anthony Quick. Obviously, you don't want to put him out there when it's 35-3 risk injury. Let him sit. Let the young guys get some experience. And then you have this past week's game where, you pull off the win, you pull off the victory, but without 2 picks from Jaden Hill, what's that game look like right now? So, obviously Richardson passes for 66 yards. I mean, you get the run game going in the second half. The run game was non-existent in the first half. So you were able to get to a 24-10 lead, and then you give up these big 3rd and longs, like 3rd and 22, 3rd and 17. You keep Missouri in the game. And so, you look at it and you're just like, why can't we just close out a game and get an actual good victory over a team and be consistent the whole time? And you just haven't seen consistency with this team. If it's not the offense, it's the defensive backfield. If it's not the defensive backfield, it's the defensive line. Kentucky game, giving up all those, big chunk yards at the end. And, you haven't really seen a consistent performance from this team. So now that Florida's got a little bit momentum, they've won a couple games in a row. It is an unranked team. It is LSU. But you go back, you look at that rivalry, LSU, 2019, 2020, 2021. And it seems like anytime, and somebody had pulled this statistic, I can't remember who it was. Every time that Florida's had a really close game with LSU, 80% of the time, LSU's pulled off the victory. So, I mean, that goes to show you right there that, I mean, like, Florida needs this victory. And the LSU fan base, every single time they beat us, they always have something to say. They're always posting a video. So
we will too, though. So.
Yeah, I mean, but still, a lot of Florida fans really want to beat LSU this game. And I think this is the game that you could do it, especially with the struggles that LSU has had. But on top of that, that defensive backfield has to play better. And I think the defensive line showed me a little something last week. I mean, I know it was Missouri, but at the same time, they played USF and did not look great. So
they look more sound.
Right. They look more sound. So you're hoping to get that same defensive line that you got last week, and you hope to see a little bit more of backfield performance.
Something that you mentioned too, again, like it's been kind of just everything's been pieced together. And I think there's something to say about that too, is that, look, we're finding a way to win. And it's not me being like a morale victory or just trying to find the light, but look, that's something that's just to speak to that. I feel like the last year's team just couldn't find a way to win. And that's frustrating. That's why we ended up 6-6, because they couldn't figure out how to get it done. Sometimes, like, with the growing pains, it's just figuring out how to get it done, even if it is ugly. There's a saying that we always say, my dad, when we were playing golf, if you hit an ugly shot and it ends up, where you wanted it, just not how you expected to get there, them tires ain't pretty, but they work.
I mean, look at last year's LSU game. Anthony Richardson got them to come back, and they had offensive momentum, and the defense would just come out there flat each time. I mean, usually when your quarterback's scoring and you're behind and you're coming back, that makes the team, it energizes that defense to want to stop somebody, and they didn't stop anybody.
That's huge too. The quit has not been there. Like I noticed it last year. I don't feel like anybody's quit. I feel like every game we've been in it. The Tennessee game was a prime example of we could have just rolled over and said screw it, and we didn't. And look, that to me, and that's the positives that I keep counting as a Florida fan that we should be noticing. And I think, look, that is huge to recruits. That speaks to who Billy is, how he is as a coach, and look, why I'm doubling down on him every single time I watch a game. Of like, look, I'm not. There's nothing that's deterring me away from that. Hey, we this season's far from over. Look, playoff bound probably. What's that? Yeah,
you're not seeing a lot of penalties either.
Which is huge.
Last week, 1 penalty for 5 yards, false start. I thought we were going to clean the game with 0.
Late too, like dumb late. Like just what we're doing, boys. Real quick, we got a super chat.
Scared money don't make money.
I haven't hit that button in a while. That felt good. From Ben Smith says, Gator bounce back game, boys. Let's effing go. Absolutely. Oh, we got one more super chat from boy Soily. Says it's MF Tom Petty Day in the swamp this week, and the crowd will be a factor too. Let's go, baby. If you guys haven't seen the rendition of me singing Won't Back Down, you guys missed out this past weekend. It was rocking and rolling.
Mr. Two Bits, Mick Hubert.
Mick Hubert going to fire the bad boys up. But it's just a perfect storm coming in here right now, okay, this weekend with the recruits, 2-bit, Tom Petty Day. Look, boys, this is a W in the making. It's just, let me get 2 claps and Ric Flair. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of the vibe we're having this weekend. So I'm pumped. We better roll some.
We don't get a woo.
Woo!
Woo!
We better roll some boys over this weekend. That's what I'm looking for. I'm ready to roll some ass. Get this bad boy going. So, thank you guys for stopping by today. Make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe if you're brand new. Welcome to the stream. High Top Sports. We got David Soderquist here from Getting Swamped. Moving on to our next topic here. We have Bama versus Tennessee this weekend, which is a huge matchup. I want to say Tennessee's number 5 now. Is that right?
Believe so. I think Alabama is 2.
So a top 5 matchup?
I can't even remember.
I'm
bad at this, man. I should quit. I'm kidding. Yeah, but they're top. It's a top 5 matchup, definitely. I mean,
yeah, it's either 1-5 or 2-5. I got it right here. Hold on. What time's 3:30? Right, it's the game.
Yeah, it's 3:30 CBS. But yeah, I mean, that's
3-6 is what CBS has them at.
Okay, maybe some other polls could have.
I think Ohio State's number 2. I think Bama's been playing too many close games to keep them in that top spot. I think that's a fair assessment. Tennessee's 4th. I think Clemson's ahead of Tennessee because then it's Michigan, Clemson, then Tennessee. Either way, huge massive matchup. And to me, my reason why I brought this up, SEC Championship, because I feel like this could be an early prediction to the SEC Championship if all bodes well. It's possible. Let's say Tennessee gets the W, which I think is going to happen. Tennessee rolls Georgia, which I think is going to happen. Tennessee now, unless a collapse of all collapse happens, is a lock into the SEC Championship. So Bama has to go back to the SEC West with 1 loss. Ole Miss is the only thing in their way now because the rest of the side already has a loss. So it's just going to come down to Ole Miss, which I think Bama doesn't lose after that, and steamrolls, which then places them back into the SEC Championship. So we could be seeing an early matchup into the SEC Championship, which is pretty exciting. It kind of reminds us of the Georgia-Bama. Could Tennessee be taking that crown this year? This is gonna let us know if Tennessee is back and for real. I think we heard about it, we ignored it. They've done well. We listened a little bit, and they played LSU last week and rolled them. And now, okay, you got my attention. I'm all ears. What's up? It sucks to say it out loud, and I hate hearing myself say it, but it's.
Well, it's got to happen once in every 20 years, right?
I guess so. Georgia had theirs last year.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, and I don't even know if Bryce Young's playing or not. I've heard that there was rumors of him in practice, so he may play or not. You know how Nick Saban is. He's not going to say anything until probably the last minute. But if Bryce Young plays that game, that will be a shootout between both of those guys. I expect Bryce Young to play just because it is a big game. I don't know how hurt he is as well. But if you look at Tennessee, they do everything right except for backfield defense. They're still ranked in the hundreds in backfield defense. But up front, they're stopping the run. They're allowing less than 100 yards rushing per game. They're averaging 46 points per game. I think they're right under. I think their offense in points per game is ranked number 1. I have to go look at this real quick. Let's see.
It was. I don't see.
Yeah, it is. It's number 2 in the nation. They're 46.8. Ohio State's at 48.8. So Ohio State's number 1 right now. And Tennessee's just playing lights out everywhere except for backfield defense. So if they can find any kind of backfield defense, or if Bryce Young doesn't play, it's over. It's over for Alabama in this game. But if Bryce Young does play, this could be a close one. It could be a squeaker to the end. So I'm pretty excited for that matchup. I know I'm going to be down there tailgating, but we definitely have a TV there. We'll definitely be tuning in at 3:30 CBS to watch that game.
Yeah, that one's going to be. It's going to be, like I said, it's going to be early sight into, in my opinion, the SEC Championship. Real quick, we got some noise in the chat here. It says Roderick Kearney is picking up steam in the spaces, popping out cryptic tweets. Can we get some updates of what's happening here? He's a Florida State commit at the moment. He committed on June 26th. I want to say this is the guy that Steve and I watched, and he was excited. And now is there a possible flip in session here, boys? Crystal Ball has him to Florida.
Yeah, I've seen some smoke about that, and actually, I feel bad. I didn't ask Corey about that before I got him off. I only had 30 minutes with him, so I tried to like run down the list of recruits and what he thinks. But I think he did mention Kearney for a second. But yeah, that's been some smoke. But I don't really pay attention to those tweets because a lot of those kids will post cryptic tweets and then they'll come back and kind of troll a team and a fan base. So I don't really pay attention to those. I just say, hey,
Treyon's very good at that.
If you're going to do it, you're not going to talk about it and just do it. So we'll see. I mean, he is slated to visit on the LSU weekend. It looks like on the list that I've seen, or some of the updated lists I have seen. But that would be good. I mean, like we need offensive linemen right now. Florida doesn't have. I mean, I guess you can't say high quality offensive linemen because I like the size that they're bringing in. A lot of these 6'8", 305 guys, not really ranked really high, but I don't really look into offensive line rankings that much as a lot of other people do. Man, if you got size and you got them tall guys, they're going to be hard to push around anyway. You just got to let them learn the footwork, the handwork, and all that other kind of stuff. But if we were to flip Roderick Kearney, that would obviously boost our recruiting class, but then it would bode well for our offensive line, considering we're going to lose Torrance next year and a few other guys. So you really want to get good offensive linemen, good big bodied offensive linemen. Here we got Cameron Waits there waiting in the wings too, and he's a pretty big dude too. He's probably one of the biggest guys on the team. So yeah, flipping him would be great.
Yeah, that would be exciting. I think add to look, Najee, he's coming in obviously, and I think the O-line the recruiting has been somewhat quiet, but the production on the field has been, in my opinion, phenomenal, which I think is going to speak volumes to the obviously potential recruits, and that could be part of where this noise is coming from. So, look, exciting news to see what happens there. So yeah, Bama, Tennessee, 3:30. It's going to be a big one. Could be a potential foreshadowing to the SEC championship. Moving on to the next one. Steve's not here. He was going to enjoy this topic here. I think he was going to love this one, so I'm sure he's in the comments. He'll have his opinion on this. Florida State plays Clemson. I want to say like 7 or 7:30 in Doak, and Clemson's only favored by 3.5. And I think there's reason for that. And my opinion is I believe FSU is going to pull off a massive upset and take down Clemson. I really do. This isn't me trolling. I'm being genuine here. I think Florida State should have beat NC State. It's almost like they didn't. They just they lost themselves. I think Norvell's done a good job of getting this team ready and making them better than what people anticipated them being. And look, Vegas sees something that we don't, to only have them favored by 3.5. After Clemson, they've undefeated. They beat Wake Forest. They've beaten NC State. They beat all these teams. And Florida I know Florida lost to NC State, but again, it was an ugly loss. I don't feel like they have truly got beat. And the Wake Forest game, I feel like they had a chance to win that one as well. So it's my upset of the week. I already see you guys laughing at me, roasting me, but I'm telling you, it's my pick. I think people are going to be shocked when they see this go down. Vegas has it close for a reason, and they're rarely wrong. It's just I think it's something that could happen. Dave?
Yeah, if you look at Clemson, man, I love their defensive line. They don't really particularly give up that. I mean, they give up yards rushing, but it's not really a lot. Passing through the air, I just looked at it and I just forgot. But you look at what Florida State's done. They haven't been the best team the past 2-3 years, but you've seen vast improvement. I mean, Florida State's offensive line, not really that good. Clemson's defensive line, pretty good. I see, Jordan Travis getting pressured, but if you go back, you look at that LSU game, the first game of the season, that kid was getting mauled down by a whole bunch of guys, and he could still run around and still make a play and pass it to a receiver in the backfield. So Jordan Travis, he's a good quarterback. I mean, he doesn't have the pieces around him, but he's a good quarterback. And I think that Vegas kind of did get it right here, but I just think Clemson as a team is going to be too tough for Florida State. But at the same time, Clemson's quarterback, I would take Florida State's quarterback over Clemson's quarterback right now, because Clemson's quarterback, he's okay. He's not that great. He's not a guy that's going to put up big offensive numbers, but they're still averaging 40 points per game. So they're getting points off offense. They're getting points off defense. I would still pick Clemson, betting my money, just because that's the likelihood of a good pick to play. If I had $1,000, I'd put it on Clemson, but I wouldn't put it behind me that Florida State could come back and win this game. Now, if Clemson blows them out, then we can just both make fun of each other on the next time I'm on here.
For being close. Look. So most people are laughing at me. I'm not going to read those comments. I'm going to read the 1W here. TK Gator Nation says, I'm with Sheldon. FSU looks good, and Clemson just isn't. Isn't. looks very bland. And then Kevin McCurley celebrates his 2 months of being a member. Thank you, Kevin, for being a member and having your pigskins. He says Florida State is catching that third straight L. So Johnny says, Sean, are you just trying to get Holly hyped up for a letdown? I'm really not. Like bro, I was roasting him. I was howling at him today, talking about the Wolfpack beating him. Look, I love a good upset. I've been watching it. There's a time and a place. These guys, Clemson is due for a fall. I don't think they are a top 5 team. I don't think they're a good undefeated team. That's my opinion. I truly feel that. They don't pass the eye test, in my opinion. I feel like they've done a good job of getting it by. I think that speaks to Dabo being a good coach. But I think Norvell's just a few snaps away from, in the Florida State's just a few snaps away of getting it right. Look, as Florida fans, I'm a little nervous playing this at the end of the year. I really am. If AR can't get this thing figured out, I'm going to be nervous.
Yeah, I was just kind of looking at some of the statistics. They're pretty even for the most part. Florida, I think the only advantage that Clemson has over Florida State is Florida State gives up a lot of rushing yards, but not really many passing. But I mean, you look at it, and I would say this: the chances of a blowout in this game would be more towards Clemson's side rather than Florida State's side. So I would still pick Clemson to win this game. Clemson could come straight in there and just blow them out, and Florida State has no chance. But it is a vastly more improved Florida State team. I don't trust Clemson's quarterback, and that's what makes me decide that it could be a close game. Now, if they had a better quarterback, maybe Cade Klubnik, maybe a little bit better than DJ. I don't know. We haven't seen it. But DJ keeps winning games. They're going to keep him in there, so we'll see what happens.
I want apologies from everyone in the chat. Florida State gets the upset. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to leave it at that. So this leads into our next segment, a new segment here that's called Number Crunch. I put out some questions earlier this week. Dave, don't look up the answers. I haven't looked at the answers yet. The wife put the answers in these little slots here. You guys got to trust me, okay? I mean, I have nothing else. No, I mean, that's my producer, so you guys got to trust that. We asked questions. Don't look, Steve. Don't look, David. Don't be pulling it up. All right? Don't be going to the community page. So we asked you guys some questions, what you guys think. We're going to ask High Top Nation and see if we can get what you guys think right. Based on your responses in the chat, I think I have a good feeling on this first one already. It's a shoo-in my opinion. So it's pretty much a lock, and we'll do that one first. Before we move to that, though, we got a super chat from North Florida White Trash. Says, what is David's opinion on Mike Hunt? Oh, my God. Don't answer that, Dave. Gosh. I almost, doesn't matter. Moving on. Okay. Who is more likely to upset this weekend? Penn State or Florida State? Based on the chat, I'm going to say that High Top Nation said Penn State is more likely to upset. Who's your thoughts there, Dave?
I don't know. I would say Penn State. I would go with Penn State.
I'm going to say Penn State now, again, with the aggression, 70% Penn State. Real quick, Marshall Watkins, thank you, man, for your 2 months of being a member. And the answer is, drum roll. I don't have a drum roll anymore. Penn State 72, Florida State 28%. I was pretty spot on with the percentages, too. Again, when I saw the chat just go absolutely bananas on me, I was like, I'm not even close here. Penn State is more likely to have the upset this weekend than Florida State. That's the what High Top Nation said. That is answer number one. Moving on to the next one here. It's probably my favorite question of the evening is who pulls more? Ed Orgeron or Lane Kiffin? Who's your take, David?
I got the Lane train, man.
The Lane train! What's your percentage? What's your guess? Do you think it's close?
I would say 82.
82% to 20%?
18.
Okay, 18. Yeah, I mean, I was rounding there.
I know there is that Ed Orgeron picture flying around, though. So maybe, I might pull down the percentage a little bit. We'll do 72.
Hey, real quick. Matt Olson, baby. Let's go. Freddie who? Let's go in the chat. I'm sorry. I got pumped for that one. Gosh. Babe, why can't I hear you yell? All right. Who pulls more? I got to do, when you said Lane train, like I can't ignore that. I'm going to say, but it's close. I'm going to say it's like 52-48. 52-48. I haven't looked. The answer is Orgeron 38, Lane Kiffin 62. Lane Train takes the W. We're tied 2-2. I got to give you the percentage points. So you were much closer than or was I closer? You said 80? I said 52? I was closer.
Then I said 72, but you can give me 82 if you want.
Okay, then we'll tie because I said 52. We'll call it even. I was spot on the Penn State one. All right, awesome, good stuff there. Loving the we got a couple good amount of votes too, which is exciting. Moving on. Did Nick Saban know Jimbo was standing behind him during pregame warmups? Yes or no? Did you see that? Did you see pregame warmups where they were like standing on 50 like back to back and they were just acting like Nick was or Jim was like kind of looking at him and then Saban was kind of just floating around and then finally like they saw each other and shook hands. Did you know he was there?
I didn't see it live, but I saw like the replay of it somewhere. But I would say that Saban probably knew.
Saban probably knew. Percentage, sir.
I would say 85.
85. I'm gonna say 80-20 as well, and that Saban definitely knew that Saban knew that Jimbo was there. Yes, 63%. Not as high as we thought. 37 says no. 37%. We're spot on. We're tied. We got a tiebreaker here. This one to me is a tough one, I think. I could be wrong. But based again on the hate in the room, I don't know. B-Bean says polls what? Women? Yes, obviously. Obviously, it's women. All right, next question. Who would you rather see win Saturday? High Top Nation out of Tennessee or Alabama? David, thoughts?
I would say based on it being a pro Florida for the most part show, I would probably say that they would pick Alabama, and I would go with maybe 60% say that.
60% say Bama. I'm going to go the opposing way just for fun here because, I mean, we got to have a tiebreaker. I'm going to say Tennessee, and I'm going to say it's close again. I'm going to say it's 52-49. I think if you're a Gator fan, you'd want Tennessee to lose here. You're right. I might take an L on this one. I'm probably taking an L. The answer is, wow, I was right on the percentage. Alabama 52, Tennessee 48. I'm spot on the percentage, but off on my pick there. Wow.
There you go.
Good stuff. I appreciate you guys answering these questions for High Top Nation. Let us know down in the comments if you guys like this little segment here. We had fun. I mean, I had fun doing it. Did you have fun doing it, Dave?
Yeah. We got to do that again, man. I like those questions.
Yeah, we'll do more. We'll do some more. I have some other ideas and other segments we want to pump in. Also, Braves are up 2-0. Let's go, baby.
2-0.
Let's go, baby. Austin Riley singles, Swanton scores, and hopefully we're still up. I'm assuming either Zach Wheeler's still in and we got to him finally, or the bullpen's in, which is what I was prepared for. I was waiting to get into the bullpen. Zach had to be pitching. The guy had like 30 pitches going into the fifth inning. So I'm loving it, boys and girls. Loving it. Fired up for the Braves here. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us tonight as well. Obviously, we're going to save the pick'em, see if we can probably try to do it later in the week with Holly. Obviously, we don't have the data from last week because that's the only responsibility that Steve has, and he's not even here for that. So, Soda Quiz, man.
He's still hiding.
He is still hiding. I appreciate you hopping on. Before we leave, I do want to get your thoughts because I know you tweeted last week you wanted to see Kitna come in for a series. You tweeted that out. Is that something that you would want to see this weekend? Are you still on that train?
My reasoning for that is if you got a struggling quarterback in there and you don't necessarily want to take him out, let him sit out a series. Like, let him sit there, gather his thoughts, think about it, go back in there. Because sometimes that works, man. You sit him for like a series. And we've seen play from Kitna. It hasn't been bad. I mean, against Eastern Washington, he did what he was supposed to do. It's not like he was terrible. Usually when you throw new quarterbacks in there, it doesn't really matter who the opponent is. They're going to throw picks or they might throw something short. You didn't really see any bad decisions from Kitna. I mean, he overthrew a receiver or so, but like it wasn't anything terrible. So that's why I said that. But I would say if Richardson is now, I've seen that Jack Miller is back on the depth chart there too.
Okay, I was just about to pull that up because we got a little love from old Sorley here. And he wants to talk about the depth chart. So great transition there. Chris says, talk about the depth chart, running back change, and Osiris hurt. You mentioned Osiris being hurt. What was you said that you don't think it's that bad, correct?
I heard from David Waters that it sounded like it wasn't that bad in the press conference. So, I mean, that's good to hear. They listed him as questionable. So, I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean he's not going to play.
Okay. All right, and now too, a big change in the running back room. Montrell gets the nod, followed by Trevor, then Naquan Wright. We've been screaming from the rooftops that this should have been called a while ago, and it's finally happened. It's finally put into place. Look, to be honest, I really think, and I've said this before, I spoke about this with the Trey Dean situation, you have to have some respect. I think if you're a new guy coming in like Billy, right? You got to play to the guys that have been there for a little bit. If you come in and just put all of your guys in, you're going to lose the respect around the room. And I really, look, we saw on the field that Montrell wasn't getting their first start. I mean, he was, but not their first round reps, right? But it was important for his name to be up there to speak like, look, it's going to be yours. And I think everybody saw that he lost it organically versus Billy just making that call. Whether Billy knew that it was, it was never really his, because just from what he could see, there is a play to building your trust amongst the team that you're not going to just come in and railroad these guys. Like, look, he earned his spot. He's been doing a great job. We're going to give him the number one spot. It's going to be yours to lose, essentially. The other guys are going to play, but it's going to be your slot to lose. Because, look, even though they're all going to play, that's an ego thing. The number one being the number one guy on the depth chart's an ego thing. To go down to a freshman running back, which we've all seen it anyways. We all knew it was coming. It wasn't a surprise. Big blow. But to me, it's positive because we're moving in the right direction in the sense of, like, Billy's starting to gain control. The team's starting to be bought in. And I think we're starting to see these things starting to align like we'd like to see.
Yeah, if you look at last week, Naquan only got 5 carries, and the rest of the bulk of the carries was between Montrell Johnson and Trevor Etienne. So, I mean, it makes sense to list them both on the depth chart, but I've always been told by people, don't trust the depth chart, especially if you're still doing a running back rotation sort of thing. So I would expect, obviously, Montrell Johnson and Etienne get the bulk of the carries now, considering just from what I saw last week, but I wouldn't count that Naquan Wright would come out there for maybe a series or so. I don't know. And I hate to say that I hope he doesn't, because it's just the fact that Montrell Johnson and Trevor Etienne are just that much better. They're just so good right now. One's averaging 8 yards per carry. The other one's averaging 6.8. So, I mean, you look at both those running backs. I mean, that's just something you're wasting that talent, not putting them out there. And especially when you got a struggling offense, sometimes, I'm not going to say they completely struggle, but they're just inconsistent. But everything that's been consistent in this football team for this offense has been that run game. So you need to keep those guys out there to get the offense going, make it a little bit more easier on Anthony Richardson if we get some run. And another thing, you got to run Anthony Richardson a lot more. And I wanted to talk about this a little bit too.
Go ahead.
Richardson, I talked to Zach. I said, do you think Richardson, I mean, obviously he's taped up his leg. It has to be somewhat hurt. I mean, when you look at that run that he had last week against Eastern Washington, I mean, he ran like 45 yards or so, but I've seen him move faster than that. And I was just like, it was fast, but it wasn't like the fast I'm used to seeing now.
Fast.
He probably could. Yeah, AR runs like a 4.4, and it didn't look to me like a 4.4. I could be wrong. Could have been the camera angle, but I just seen that he was kind of slower. I think maybe he's being asked not to run that much, or maybe he's kind of like, every time he's been hit, for the most part, you've seen him kind of get up slow, go in the medical tent. So the thing that I'm wondering is Anthony Richardson really hurt or not? I mean, he does take off and run, so I don't think he's really hurt, but I think maybe it could be
Lingering.
I don't want to run, because there's a lot of quarterback draws and handoffs that you see like that he could take off, and green grass is right in front of him, and he still hands it off to the running back, and you're like,
Sure.
Dude, there's green grass right there. You could take off and run 30 yards right now. So I don't know what's going on with that situation, but Anthony Richardson is so much better when he's on the run. I ran a stat last night, and they did a lot against Tennessee. They did play action, roll out the quarterback. On play action, he's like 65% for 700 yards, and he averages 13.4 yards per attempt on play action when he runs the football. And when he's running and he can use his legs, he's so much more effective.
It opens up the whole offense.
In the pocket. Yeah, he's not a pocket passer. Like, he's just
No.
not a pocket passer.
He wants to be. He was fighting that. Now, I think this is going to be the first game that Jack's back there. That's going to have a huge factor, hopefully positively, where he feels like I can let it loose now, because I think that obviously that was a concern of like, well, the backup really isn't there. Not that he, was anticipating getting hurt, but it is a thought. That's going to be a factor. And it could be like, look, the ability of me losing my job is increased. I don't think that the buy-in for Kitna is what it is probably for Jack. Now, I don't know. I could be speaking out of range here, because we haven't seen Jack, but I think obviously he's second second fiddle for a reason. I think he made a lot of strides during the offseason after that orange and blue game. I was very disappointed in his performance, but I've heard nothing but good things coming out of the camp since then, and excited for obviously the future with him. Look, I think we're sound. We look healthy. It's going to be good things to come this week, especially with Jack being back there again. I think it just speaks again. It's just going to make the mindset be better for the team, in my opinion.
Yeah, and at the same time, if something were to happen, at least you've got two backups. Well, I would say Jack Miller that could be capable. We haven't really seen much of him except for the spring game and this new offense with its team. But obviously, if he's listed second on the chart, Billy Napier and staff have seen something to put him second over Kitna. But you've also seen production out of Kitna, not making too many mistakes. Does what he's supposed to do against inferior opponents. So you've got some quarterbacks back there that could. If something were to happen, step in for a little bit or whatever. So, I mean, it's a good thing to see that Jack Miller's back and we got some quarterback depth, because that was my main concern this whole year. What happens if Anthony Richardson gets hurt and Jack Miller's out? What are we going to do? Who do we have? Luckily, we saw a decent performance from Kitna. I mean, at least we know what we get out of him in a live game. Maybe not against a team like LSU who has a better defense. We don't know how he's going to perform there, but at least we saw something. At least he's able to compete against inferior components or opponents and not make mistakes. So you've got good depth there, I would say. I'm not going to say elite or anything like that, but you got manageable depth at quarterback if something were to happen with Anthony Richardson.
How long do you keep Anthony, like for the LSU game? How many do you see a pull happening? Or are you, if you're Billy, are you riding Anthony out no matter what? Or is there a line of where, hey, I'm putting Jack in?
I don't know. I have no clue. I would say if he's just performing terribly and maybe Florida's just put in a really bad spot and you need some offensive production, that could possibly happen. But I think if the game's still close and Richardson's obviously being productive on offense and it's not anything too terrible, I don't see him pulling him, especially for running the ball pretty effectively. I really don't see him pulling him there. But if it's just like a 21-0, maybe 24-0, nothing's happening on offense, I could see something like that happening.
Hopefully that doesn't have to happen. But again, it's been definitely a question that's been there. It looks, is Trace Mack getting the start? Let me see.
No, it's still Adam Malik in front of him on kicking, which is actually another thing. We're only 55.6% kicking of field goals this year. I thought Adam Malik looked good the past couple of games until I watched Missouri, and I was just like, wow.
Yeah, I was hoping Trey after that Trey would get the nod. That was what I was hoping for. But I mean, let's. I mean, to me, kickers are more interchangeable than quarterbacks. I mean, if somebody's not making it, let it ride. But we'll see. All in all, great show. I think great comments in there. No AR is gonna go Heisman level this weekend. Look, I think it's gotta get to that point for AR. I think he's got to lock it in and tune it in, and I'm hoping that he does. I feel like we've been seeing some progressions. It's been a week by week assessment for him in the offense. And look, I think he's improved 1 week. I mean, some things with each week he'll get better at some areas, and in other areas he's struggling. And I think hopefully we can just see it all come together this weekend. There isn't a better weekend to get it all together than this one right here, because then we go into a bye, and then it's Florida Georgia. So again, this weekend kind of sets a tone for the rest of the year and what team we want to be.
Yeah. And I'll say this: if Richardson throws for 200 or 300 this game, and we average what we do in rushing, we're definitely winning the football game. Now, unless there's some crazy turnovers that he throws, that's pick sixes or something like that, we would definitely win the game.
I love it. Well, Dave, man, appreciate you hopping on as always and giving us the chit chat, and always be ready to rock and roll and send it with the boys. I know they all appreciate it in the chat. Thank you guys for who stopped by today, dropped a like, showed some love, and to the ones that answered our questions. Allowed us to have some fun. Papa Stokes, you're a little late, big dog. We're about to leave. We're about to leave. You're late, Papa Stokes. Are you gonna be there this weekend? Real quick before we go, Papa Stokes, you gonna be there this weekend with Marcus and his official visit? Muddy says, "I want Smack. I want Smack too." First of all, it's a great kicker's name, and second of all, let's get it going. So,
and you tell Papa Stokes to go past the Harmonica Woods tailgate too, if he can.
He can hear you.
well, I know that. So yeah, stop by Harmonica Woods tailgate near Lake Alice and all that. And if you need to find me on Twitter to ask me where that's at, I can give you the coordinates at Getting Swamped on Twitter. Just message me. I'll tell you the coordinates.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or you just shoot me the stuff. I can text to him. Either way, Papa Stokes. Figure out. He has a Twitter. Go follow. Getting swamped, Papa Stokes.
We got a few guys stopping by that tailgate. So
okay, and then also Friday. Where is it again? Oh, I forgot.
Friday, Gator Collective. It's at Midtown, the rooftop bar called The Social.
The Social. That's
I'm
right.
not down in Gainesville a lot, guys, so take it easy on me. So I live in North Georgia, so every now and then I get to go down there. 400-mile drive for me.
Well, I'm excited. I finally get to meet Dave. Real quick, I don't know if you guys know this. Dave's absolutely flipping yoked. You guys can't see it right here, but the guy is yoked. My man's rocking like 32s on his biceps. I can't wait to get a photo with him because he's ginormous. That's first thing. Second thing, Heights Out Sports will be live at the Social in Gainesville with the Gator Collective. We are beyond stoked to be able to work with them once again. So make sure if you're in Gainesville, come by, stop by, see us. Soderquist will be there. I know Gator Dave from Gator Breakdown will be there as well, right? Yep. And Kevin Stokes said he had 1,000. Papa Stokes said 1,000% will be there. So Papa Stokes, hit one of us up. We'll get you the address. And shout out to Gator Gang. Says, I want you all to know I've been sitting on the toilet while my wife blows up my phone and was ignoring her for this. Couldn't thank you enough for your sacrifice, Gator Gang. I appreciate you, bub. But I will see you guys Friday night live from the Social. We'll see you Saturday live streaming LSU. And it's going to be a packed weekend. So turn the bells on, drop a like, subscribe. It's going to be a great weekend for Florida football. I can feel it in my bones. Go Braves! Until next time, I'm Sheldon. And that's David. He's not used to this. See you guys.